Have you ever wondered what women truly see when they look at a man? Beyond the physical appearance, the career, or the social status? What is it that signals a man's true strength or, conversely, a profound inner weakness? We live in a world that often equates strength with aggression, with physical dominance, or with financial success. But what if that's a dangerous misconception? So, what if true weakness is not a physical state, but a psychological one? A state of being disconnected from one's own soul. The brilliant and profound psychiatrist Carl Jung, who dedicated his life to mapping the depths of the human psyche, understood that a woman's perception of a man's weakness is not about his physical stature, but about his psychological integrity. It's about the subtle, yet undeniable, signals that betray a man's unconsciousness, his inner fragmentation, and his failure to become a whole individual. Now, the first signal of this kind of weakness is a man's inability to set boundaries and say no. In his desperate need for approval, this man will consistently overcommit, overpromise, and ultimately fail to deliver, not because he is lazy, but because he is psychologically fragile. He fears conflict and rejection so much that he sacrifices his own needs and his own authenticity to be liked. This behavior betrays a weak sense of self. He has no solid inner core, no defined boundaries that say, "This is who I am, and this is what I stand for." A woman sees this as a man without a spine. A man whose identity is entirely dependent on the shifting winds of external opinion. True strength, from a Jungian perspective, is the courage to stand alone, to define oneself from the inside out, and to risk being disliked for the sake of being genuine. The second profound signal of weakness is the emotional volatility or repression. The unexamined man often has a poor relationship with his emotions. He is either an emotional powder keg, exploding in fits of rage over minor inconveniences, or he is completely emotionally shut down, viewing any display of feeling as a sign of weakness. Both of these extremes are rooted in the same psychological immaturity, a lack of integration with his own anima, the feminine archetype within his psyche that governs emotions, intuition, and vulnerability. A woman sees a man who cannot navigate his own emotional landscape as someone who is fundamentally out of control, either by being a slave to his emotions or by being a prisoner of their oppression. True strength is not the absence of emotion, but the ability to feel, to process, and to express emotions in a mature, conscious way. A third, and very common, signal of weakness is the chronic habit of blame and projection. Instead of taking responsibility for his own failures or shortcomings, this man constantly blames external forces or other people. The classic phrase, "It's not my fault," is his mantra. This is a telltale sign of an unexamined shadow. His psychological ego is too fragile to admit his own flaws, and so, in an act of unconscious defense, it projects them onto the world. A woman sees this behavior as a profound form of immaturity. It signals a man who is not a master of his own destiny, but a victim of his own mind. A man of true strength knows that while he may not control all external events, he is the master of his own response, and he has the courage to look inward and take responsibility. And we find a fourth signal of weakness in a deep-seated need for external validation. This man's sense of self-worth is a fragile construction, built entirely on the opinions of others, his job title, or his possessions. He is constantly seeking applause, approval, and recognition from the outside world because he lacks a solid inner core of self-worth. This makes him easily manipulated, easily swayed, and ultimately, not his own man. He is a slave to the approval of others, and his life is a desperate performance to maintain a certain image. A woman sees this as a hollow core, a man who is not truly present, but constantly performing for an imaginary audience. True strength comes from knowing your own value from within, independently of what the world thinks of you. So the fifth signal of weakness is a lack of purpose or direction in life. This is the man who is drifting, reactive rather than proactive. He does not have a sense of his own destiny or a commitment to his own unique path of individuation. He is content to simply exist, following the easiest route, and is often driven by fleeting pleasures or distractions. A woman perceives this as a fundamental lack of inner drive and passion. A man without purpose is a man without a future, and his lack of a coherent direction signals that he has not yet begun the journey to become a complete, integrated individual. True strength is rooted in a deep, internal sense of purpose and a commitment to one's own growth. Finally, the sixth signal of weakness is inauthenticity and inconsistency. This is the man who is a different person in every situation. He is loud and boisterous with his friends, but quiet and timid with his family. He has a public-facing personality that is a stark contrast to his private one. This lack of integrity and inner coherence signals a fragmented psyche, a man who is wearing different masks for different situations without a solid, authentic self underneath. A woman whose intuition is often highly attuned to this kind of psychological dissonance sees this as a lack of honesty, not just with her, but with himself. A man of true strength is an integrated man. His words, actions, and character are consistent because they all flow from a single authentic source. So you see, Jung's perspective on weakness has nothing to do with what we are told by society. It is not about a physical failing, but a psychological one. It's a man who, for whatever reason, has failed to embark on the most important journey of all, the journey inward. The journey to know himself, to face his shadows, to integrate his wholeness, and to become the unique individual he was born to be. The good news is that recognizing these signals is not a cause for shame, but a powerful call to action. It is the first step toward psychological strength, toward becoming a man who is not a slave to his fears and unconscious behaviors, but a master of his own soul. It is the path to becoming a man of genuine integrity, authenticity, and inner power,